So I'm going to be talking to you about marine health. Basically, give you a little checkup on the health of the oceans, what we've been doing to it, and what we can help with. So, as you know, we've been experiencing climate change. It's a result of human activities. Um, we've been doing a lot of dumping and creating pollutants that we can't get rid of, and they end up in the ocean. And then we've also been overfishing, so we've been depleting the ocean's fish supplies. We've been taking them faster than they can replenish themselves. So climate change, it's been a huge thing. It's really started in the 1800s with the Industrial Revolution, when we figured out how to burn fuels and create work from it, and it allowed us to create a lot of new goods, change our lifestyles, and our populations have increased drastically since then. So according to some NASA statistics from the website, the global temperature has raised 1.7 degrees Fahrenheit since 1800s. And that doesn't seem like that much, but considering the fragility of the ecosystems, it can actually do a whole lot. And we're aiming to cap it at a 2 degrees Celsius raise. All our policies have been designed to try and prevent that from happening. And also the sea level, it's raised by 3.4 millimeters per year. That caused by the melting ice caps, as well as expanding oceans. As they heat up, it expands and ends up raising, causing ecosystem loss and destroying human habitats. So this graph, it shows the current, the atmospheric level of CO2 throughout many, many years. We know this from these the cores of ice. We drill into these really large glaciers that have been around for millions of years, and we can actually measure the CO2 levels throughout all of history. It's really cool stuff. But so you see this graph below. Since starting around the 1800s, we've been creating CO2, and these two lines, they kind of track themselves for each other, but the emissions have definitely increased more than the atmosphere has increased. And that is because this CO2 is going into the oceans. And I'll talk to you about that. So the ocean is a giant carbon sink. A carbon sink is where carbon gets stored in the earth as opposed to the atmosphere. There are many different sinks. There's soils, forests. When we deforest, we cut down forests, all the CO2 that's in the living matter goes into the atmosphere. When we burn fossil fuels, which is old forests that have fossilized, that all goes in the atmosphere. And so the ocean absorbs 48% of all the carbon emitted. And so that's really important. This carbon drives photosynthesis in the oceans, and it creates 70% of the world's oxygen. So 70% of what you breathe actually comes from the ocean, not forests or grass plains or anything like that, all the ocean. And so currently the ocean is at a third saturation. That means of all the CO2 it can potentially hold, we're third way there. So got a little bit of room. But as the ocean absorbs CO2, it becomes more acidic. Just like a soda, it has CO2 dissolved in it. The ocean acts the same way. And the CO2 reacts and forms carbonic acid, lowering the pH of the ocean, making it more acidic. This has a very big effect on these shells. They're a very important part of the ocean ecosystem, these small organisms. According to an article, the ocean acidic, I had it in my notes, but I don't have those. But yeah, so these small organisms, they form shells. They're a pivotal role in the food supply, and their shells are actually becoming weakened by the lowering pH. And as you can see, it's causing them to degenerate, and they're less viable. So what we can do to curb these effects is we can try and lower our greenhouse emissions, which is a really hard thing to do on a personal level. As you can see, most of it is done by industry and things that are out of our personal control. Mostly what we can do is lower consumption, so less plastics, less new shiny things, and we can drive less. We can take public transportation. That's basically how we can firstly stop it, and then on a national and global level, we have to switch from switch to renewable energies instead of coal and natural gases and other things that increase the carbon in our atmosphere. Another terrible thing that we've been doing is we've been polluting the ocean. We produce a lot of plastics and other dangerous chemicals that all run off into the ocean. Pretty much everything we create and happens in the world ends up in the ocean through runoff, watershed, rainwater, everything, dumping directly into the ocean. And there's a lot of things that we don't have a current way of getting rid of. We can't break down plastic. It stays forever. It gets smaller and smaller pieces. Currently in the Pacific Ocean, there's a giant whirlpool. It's hundreds of miles across, and it's just a swirling pool of small plastic debris. And there's some, we have some ways thought of to combat this. There's filters and other things that can get the debris out, but for the most part, it's pretty unmanageable. So basically all we can do is reduce our usage. And now overfishing, this is probably the biggest impact to humans. We've basically started to deplete the supply of life in the oceans. We've been creating a harmful environment for them, so they have a harder time surviving. But also, we've been going and taking tons of fish out of the ecosystem. We don't have strict regulations on manageable practices. A lot of the fish we take, like tuna, we just take too much. We've been expanding where we're taking them, and it's having a drastic impact on their environments. And so what we can do is we can create more protected land. It's proven pretty effective to reduce the overfishing. And then we can also create systems to regulate what's being sold and what's being bought, so we can really handle what's being sustainably caught and what's not, and eliminate the unsustainable practices. And here is a list. This is from Monterey Bay Aquarium. They've compiled a list of good and bad choices for seafood. Like a lot of the tunas are really harmful to catch and eat. They're an apex predator, and it has a really big impact when we take them out of the ecosystem. And so there's some good alternatives that are mostly farmed. The farming practices range from good to bad, but most of them are better than taking them out of the ecosystem. And so basically we want to protect the biodiversity of a lot of fragile ecosystems. It will help us in the long run, sustaining and being happy and healthy.